Blood donation process begins with donors filling in their donor form and registration over the counter. Donors need to make sure they feel well, aged at least 18 years old, weigh more than 45 kilograms, had more than 5 hours of sleep, and has had taken their meal prior to donation. Screening of blood tests will be done during this stage to determine the blood type of the donor and also to ensure that their hemoglobin level is within normal range. Donors subsequently will go through a private and confidential counselling session with a medical officer or a nurse to ensure they fulfill the criteria of a donor. During this time, their blood pressure will also be taken to ensure they are eligible to donate blood. Eligible donors will then be taken to the bleeding area to proceed with the blood donation process, during which they will be seated comfortably. Generally, in National Blood Centre, there are two types of blood donations, which are whole blood and apheresis donation. Whole blood donation is the most common type of blood donation that we usually see in blood donation centres, during which 1 pint of whole blood is given. This type of blood donation usually takes about 8 to 10 minutes to complete. Donors who are eligible to donate whole blood can do so every 3 months. Blood consists of 3 components, which are red blood cell, platelet, and also plasma. Unlike whole blood, apheresis donation involves donation of 1 or 2 of the blood components, which are plasma, platelet, or both. During this type of donation, an apheresis machine collects the plasma and or platelet and returns the red blood cells back to the donor. This donation process takes about 30 minutes to 1 hour to complete. It is only done in blood centres where the apheresis machines are made available. Apheresis donors can donate every 2 weeks. Following completion of donation, donors are strongly advised to consume light refreshments which are provided in sufficient amount of fluid to ensure they are well hydrated. They can leave the donation site after 10 to 15 minutes. They are also advised to avoid heavy activities 4 hours post-donation and resume their normal daily activity the day after.
Hi, I'm Zahari Safian from Production Division, National Blood Centre. Our division is responsible for the preparation of blood components from whole blood donation that are collected from National Blood Centre as well as blood transfusion services at government hospital in Selangor, Negeri Sembilan and western part of Pahang. Our division also responsible for the packaging of plasma for fractionation. The procedure used to prepare blood components from whole blood donation is by centrifugation. Whole blood donation are first centrifuged to separate red blood cells and plasma. During centrifugation, red blood cells sink to the bottom of the collection bag while the plasma remain on the surface, while blood cell and platelet remain suspended in the plasma above the red blood cell. The plasma is then extracted into one of the satellite bags. The red blood cell remain in the original collection bag and called as a packed red cells. 3 blood components are obtained from whole blood processing: plasma, platelet and red blood cells. After processing, all blood and blood components are stored in quarantine storage facility until all the blood typing as well as screening test has been completed. Packed red cells are stored at 2 to 6 degrees centigrade, platelet at 20 to 24 degrees centigrade under constant agitation, and plasma below negative 25 degrees centigrade. Only blood and blood components that meet the requirement quality standard are released into inventory or fractionation stock. This is to ensure the supply of safe blood and blood components for transfusion and fractionation. As summary, our division is responsible for the preparation of blood components. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. My name is Muhammad Azam Muhammad Noor. Welcome to Transfusion Microbiology Lab. For your information, all donation blood sample from the blood donor will be sent to Transfusion Microbiology Lab for blood screening test. The screening test is done to make sure that the blood is not infected with HIV, hepatitis B, hepatitis C and syphilis before the blood bag is safe to supply or use by the patient. There are 2 methods in the screening test, which are the serology method and the other one is molecular method, also known as nucleic acid testing or NAT. Serology method is to detect the antigen of hepatitis B virus and antibody towards syphilis, HIV, and hepatitis C infection, while molecular method is to identify the RNA of HIV and HCV, and also the DNA of hepatitis B virus. The screening test is done every day, and the results will be released within 24 hours after sample receipt. The scientific officer or the microbiologist will verify the screening results before release to confirm the accuracy of the results. If any of the results is reactive, the particular blood bag and its component will be discarded and cannot be used. Only the non-reactive bags and its components will be stored, supplied, and used. In summary, the function of the transfusion microbiology lab is to make sure our blood is safe.
Assalamualaikum and very good morning. Immunohematology laboratory performing ABO and RH blood grouping, antibody identification and also compatibility testing. Our function is to know the actual blood group of the donors and also the patient, consisting of 4 major blood group system, A, B, AB and O. For RH blood grouping, it only consists of RH positive or RH negative. Immunohematology laboratory also performing red cell phenotypes to know other blood group system beside ABO and RH. As example, blood group system KIT, DAFI, KEL, MNS and others blood group system. Each blood groups depends on population distribution based on geographically and race. So, there will be a rare blood group system that rarely found in our population. The donor with this blood group will be known as a rare blood donors. Their blood will be needed if there is a patient needs transfusion with this type of blood. We also freeze some of this blood for emergency usage. For your information, all the tests were run by automation analyzer, release 380 results in 1 hour after we loading the samples. Before we transfuse the blood to the patient, we need to perform compatibility testing to ensure that the blood is compatible between the donor and patient. In immunohematology laboratory, we perform ABO and RH blood grouping testing, antibody identification and also compatibility testing for both patient and donor. As summary, immunohematology laboratory is performing ABO and RH grouping, antibody identification testing and also compatibility testing, also known as a cross-match testing.
In the receiving bay unit, we receive blood samples from centre and mobile to ensure every donation is screened for ABO, sero and NET test. This process is done to ensure screening result can be released by the lab. We also receive samples for NET screening testing from other states such as Melaka, Johor, Kedah, Kelantan and Pahang. The respective laboratory will collect these samples to perform the test. Inventory department manages screen blood and also blood components. All screen blood are received from production department and are labelled. The blood and blood component are then arranged into their storage area according to their blood group and component type with specific temperature. Red blood cells are kept in the fridge or cold room with temperature between 2 to 6 degrees Celsius, and can be kept for 42 days. Frozen products are kept in the freezer with temperature of less than -25 degrees Celsius and can be kept for 3 years. Platelets, on the other hand, are kept in the platelet agitator with temperature ranging from 20 to 24 degrees Celsius for 5 days. 2,500 units of red blood cells for 5 days stock usage and 200 units of platelets are kept at one time. All blood and blood components are arranged using the first in, first out system. Our target is to prevent expiry of blood and blood component. It should be less than 1% for red cells expiry. We receive blood and components requests from government and private hospital within the Klang Valley and also all over the country when there are needs in emergency situation. Blood and blood components are prepared according to the quantity, the blood group and blood type requested by the respective hospitals. All blood and blood component is taken out using first in, first out order. After preparation process is completed, the blood and blood components will be ready to be issued or kept temporarily before collection from respective hospital. When the porter from the respective hospitals arrive, the blood and component requests are checked with the blood and blood component prepared before they are handed over to the respective hospital's porter. The related documents of blood and blood components are signed with details of name, date and time recorded for documentation purposes. We also ensure the blood and blood component given are kept in a proper container to maintain the cold chain before they are distributed to respective hospitals.